Hi, I'm Charlotte Gray, and thank you. And as a historian and a biographer, many of my best conversations are with the dead. Why are they so good? Well, first, because the dead can't sue. There's never a libel threat. And second, because I'm never interrupted. How often does that happen these days? But I'm obliged in these one-sided conversations to listen carefully to what my subjects might say back to me. I need to be both truthful and imaginative, good disciplines for any writer, as I try and shape a decent story out of the mountain of facts in the messy past. If I want readers to trust me, I must be true to the people and events I'm writing about. I try to bring my subjects into a conversation with the present by seeing their point of view while expressing my own. It's not always easy. When I write about extraordinary women, like the pioneering immigrant sisters Susanna Moodie and Catherine Parr Traill, or the Mohawk poet Pauline Johnson, or the social activist Nellie McClung, I discover aspects of their lives that are pretty unattractive to modern readers. Now, I don't want to diminish these women. They are extraordinary. But Susanna Moodie, for example, author of Roughing It in the Bush, was a roaring British snob and a racist. Her sister, Catherine Parr Traill, author of Life in the Backwoods, exasperates those of us who assume gender equality by her deference to her needy husband. Pauline Johnson, the most marvelous performer, extraordinary coast-to-coast star, played into stereotypes of, quote, Red Indian savages. And Nellie McClung, the campaigner for women's suffrage, flirted with eugenics. So these women have to defend their views and behavior in conversations with the modern world. But you know, if they could join the conversation, they would likely point out aspects of today's world that they found pretty frightful. Of course, they'd embrace much of the modern world, including parts of it we don't think are so great. Catherine Parr Traill, who was a wonderful cook, would adore all the convenience foods that we take for granted. There's a wonderful letter from her in the 1880s where she goes ballistic because she's discovered a cardboard carton of baking powder. She didn't have to work with yeast any longer. And Pauline Johnson, a confirmed diva, would be all over YouTube. These women would also gasp at the wealth and comfort of most Canadians' lives, how long we all live, how we usually take good health for granted. There's plenty that would appall them too, and not just the stuff that appalls us, like pervasive pornography, overuse of sugar, and our rip and run approach to natural resources. They, from their point of view, would all be shocked to see that religion had vanished from the lives of most nominal Christians. They'd be confused at the way grandparents today are warehoused in ghettos, known as seniors' homes, rather than being kept within their own families. They'd be horrified at sexual freedom. In fact, if they were here today, some of our conversations would be quite uncomfortable, as each side realized the gulf in our basic assumptions. They would not necessarily think we have made non-stop, unalloyed progress. As a historian, I also have conversations with living people, other historians. We discuss what is important in the past, what makes an authentic narrative. This is a lively conversation right now because the federal government is busy recasting Canada's historic narrative. Gone is Canada, the peaceable kingdom. Hello, Canada, the warrior nation. Gone is the liberal catalogue of achievements, Medicare, peacekeeping, the Charter of Rights. Welcome to the Harper conservative world, where we celebrate the monarchy, military victories, and hockey. Both the liberal and conservative narratives stand up to scrutiny because both are rooted in facts, and they do have decent historians defending them. But are they true to the past? Both are pretty exclusive dialogues. And just think of all the voices that have been left out of these particular conversations with history. First Nations, immigrants, the poor, and yes, often women. So in my conversations with the past, I aim to be as open-minded as I hope to be in conversations I have in the present. And frankly, conversations with the past can often be uncomfortable. There is, however, one aspect of my conversations with the dead that frustrates me. I rarely get to hear their voices. The silence of my dead friends was most frustrating when I came to write the biography of Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, and, as many maritimers here know tonight, an adopted Cape Bretoner. The wonderful Alec, and yes, we are on first name terms in our conversations, was the first person whose voice was heard over distance. The first time, the distance was just a few meters. This next time, while he was staying with his family in southern Ontario, a few kilometers. And then in 1915, Alec made the first transcontinental phone call from New York to San Francisco. And nobody thought to record it. How could the man who made long-distance conversations possible be invisible and unheard by us? The more I researched Bell, the more I wished I could hear him. The son of an elocution teacher, he himself set great store by the way somebody spoke. Since he was born in Scotland, did he have a Scottish burr? He spent his adolescence in London. Was his accent English? How did a brief stay in Canada or his American wife shape his voice? What was its pitch, its tone? By the time I published my biography of Bell, Reluctant Genius, in 2006, I had been mentally talking to Alexander Graham Bell for 4 years during my research, and I had my version of his voice in my head. It was Sean Connery. And then, 2 years ago, I got a phone call from Smithsonian Magazine. Scientists had managed to lift a brief clip of Bell's voice from a recording made in 1885 on a fragile wax and cardboard disc. The magazine editor wanted me to write about what it was like to hear my subject's voice. He sent me a clip, and suddenly, there I was, sitting in my Ottawa study, listening to a vigorously, clearly enunciated voice. It said, "In witness whereof, hear my voice, Alexander Graham Bell." Finally, one of my dead friends, with whom I'd had so many conversations, was speaking to me from beyond the grave. And he did sound like Sean Connery.